Let's return within so we can observe reality. And let's focus on the place where we find ourselves right now. The place, not the external place, not the physical location, but the internal place, the spiritual location. Usually when we focus inward, we focus on what we are, on what is, on what becomes us. Now we want to focus where? Where does this take place? What's the basis that supports our existence? Even in physical space, we're suspended right in the middle of infinity. In any direction, if we start going, we can continue going for as long as we can see, for as far as we can see. There's where to go in any direction. And so physically, we're suspended right in the middle of infinity. There are different objects that give us the familiar feeling like we are here. Here is where? Here is constantly changing, actually. Everything is traveling. The globe we are on is traveling within the solar system. The solar system is traveling within the galaxy. The galaxies are all in constant flux. And that's just the physical space. The spiritual space, which comprises of where are we in the emotional, where are we in the intellectual, where are we in the energetic. All these locations relate to dimensions that can be difficult for us to imagine. And yet they are very real. What we cannot imagine is not less real. What we cannot imagine and exists is usually more real. It's the part that keeps reality going so that we can continue imagining. The place. When a person leaves their body, in what sense do they change place? And how many different dimensions do they change place? Every dimension the body affects. Every organ affects different dimensions. So we are constantly in a very complex place. In a sense, we might say it's many places, but at the essence, it's one place. It's a place within which all this magic can happen. It's a place within which it's normal if you're dressed in limbs and organs. This place allows for our existence. This place, in essence, is before our existence. Our existence meaning our existence in this phase of experiencing reality, the phase where we have a physical lens, a physical body that's filtering what we can see and what we can experience and what we can understand. The physical body is capable of understanding many things, but it requires a process. Unlike our real nature, where we know things as part of our nature without any process. When we're in the physical, knowledge, understanding requires a process, requires development, it requires the appropriate sensitivities so that the nervous system can respond to the information appropriately. This place gives us life. This place allows for us to exist in this form. When we'll be in a different place, we'll have a different form that's suitable to that place. This phase of the experience, each phase of the experience is a place, and yet it's a place that's happening in so many places. Because in essence, all places are one. And so, even when we are in different places, there is still a relationship to the one place from where they all come and where they're all leading to. All forms of development are coming out from the source in order to look back at the source and realize we grow out of the source in order to develop enough so that we can look back at the source and realize. This is the relationship that is the result of the development. This is the purpose of the development. The spiritual evolution of the human spirit is so that it can realize its source. The human spirit came from the source and will return to the source after it has developed enough to realize its source. And this development also has a physical component, the capacity for this form of knowledge, the capacity for this level of sensitivity. It requires a certain environment in order not to destroy the sensitivities. Not to make them too costly, too painful. The place we are in is the state we are in. On any dimension where we have a location, where we are somewhere within a spectrum, where we are between extremes, there's a place that we are. Even on the physical things, relative to different bodies that we can measure, we can have a location. Even in the temperature, there's a location where we're at on the spectrum, and once we go into the emotional, and then to the cognitive, to the spiritual, to the energetic, there's unlimited combinations of where we can be. And these combinations are meaningful because these combinations are creating the information that's going to inform the future. These combinations are testing and trying and realizing and constantly updating what it means to be us. And this is part of the process of allowing the human spirit to grow in order to realize itself. And this growth happens through experience. This growth happens through pain and pleasure. Pain and pleasure are the teachers of the souls. The real teaching we cannot learn from words. Words are not real in and of themselves. They're being interpreted, and therefore they cannot teach us. We are teaching them. We give meaning to words. Words don't give meaning to us. And so we, by creating a spirit to form according to the words, we are creating the interpretation. And so they are not the teachers. They are taking us to different places inside of ourselves. They are awakening spirits. They are moving us. They're moving us within the space of the spiritual dimensions. But the teachers are going to be the reactions that we are going to experience as a result of this movement. This is what's really going to teach us. So the more we learn to pay attention to what's really happening inside of us, what are the processes inside of us that are causing us pain and causing us pleasure, the more we're actually learning what life is teaching us. This is how life teaches. This is the language. Words are not the language. Words are usually what life is trying to teach you are wrong. The words can be wrong. How are we going to know? If we will listen to how they feel. Even if the words are right, we can understand them wrong. We can understand them from a wrong context. We can come to the wrong conclusions as a result of those words, and therefore they're no longer right. All this we can only know if we listen to the pain and the pleasure. The pain and the pleasure are our teachers to teach us to remain within the designed reality, within the limits that were designed for a spirit while she is embodied. When a spirit is inside a body, she has limits. The body has limits. And those limits we can only learn through pain and pleasure. In the external world, we can learn the limits by instruction. Because the external world has a developed language that we know how to communicate. The internal world has been neglected, and therefore there's no developed language except if we ourselves go through special development. And therefore we're going to learn only if we listen, and our teachers are going to be pain and pleasure. The more we gain sensitivity, the more we are spiritually in tune, the more the pleasures are going to be subtle. They're going to be pleasures that before this development we didn't even know existed. And these pleasures can be stable, can be constant, unlike the pleasures that come from the external world. And these pleasures are the kindest of teachers. And yet, even on that level, the teachers are still pain and pleasure. But it can get very complicated. Immediate pleasure could be what might cause long-term pain. Immediate pain might assist in long-term pleasure. And so, reality can only be mastered if we are completely devoted to it. If pain and pleasure are our teachers, but what we are really looking for is reality, is the truth, then we will be able to see through all confusion. If pain and pleasure are the goal, and reality is just a means to an end, then we will be blinded, and we will not be able to see what's really driving us, what's safe, what's really in our long-term best interest. And this desire for truth over pain and pleasure is also based on our desire for pleasure. This is the real way to achieve pleasure, is to look for truth first. It's not that if someone is looking for pleasure, there's something wrong, they need to look for truth before pleasure. No. If you are wise and you're looking for pleasure, you're looking for truth first. Otherwise, you're being fooled. Pleasure that's not backed by truth is no pleasure. And so truth, pleasure, peace, all come at one. This is the nature of the source. It's the source we're looking for. It's our nature to cling to source. Part of us clings to source because of the pleasure. Part of us clings to source because of the truth. Part of us clings to source because of the wisdom. Part of us clings to source because of the peace. This is all legitimate. This is within our nature. We were designed to cling to source for all these reasons. But we simply want to be wise so that we can properly cling, and not that we get distracted by our way of clinging and we forget the source. Because the source is the place of all places. Everything you want, you're manifesting within the source. If we leave the truth, we leave the source, we have nothing. There can be nothing when there is no place where it will be. Who will hold it for us while we sleep? Who will remember after we leave the body? Where are we storing our goods so that we know we have them? The only place is the place of all places, the place that always was and always will be. And that place is only accessible when we are united with the source. Otherwise, we ourselves, through our own determination, through our own beliefs, leave that safe and sacred space. And that place is the place of the truth. The truth that you know. Only the truth that you know, but not the truth that you know consciously. The truth that you know that is beyond consciousness. The truth that you knew that nobody told you. Anything someone told you is not the truth. It might point towards the truth. It might point away from the truth. It might not even be related to the whole subject, because it was said by someone who never knew the truth. But nevertheless, whatever anyone told you is not the truth. What I'm telling you if you feel anything from the words that I'm telling you, it's not my words that you're feeling. It's your own soul that you're feeling. My words can only remove the veils previously created by other words, until you could no longer feel the light of your soul. But it's not my words that are actually shining. It's the soul that shines, that experiences, that realizes, that feels. This is all you. You can only experience yourself. You can only ever experience yourself. Even when you're going to be experiencing the Creator Himself, you're going to experience Him as yourself, because this is the nature of a human spirit. The spirit is a lens. The spirit is a lens through which the Creator sees creation. And based on these lenses, and based on what they tell the one who looks through them, all the decisions about what will happen in the world are made. And this is the reality that's already happening. This is already taking place. It's already been taking place for thousands of years. And within this place, many came, many did, many changed, but not many actually realized what was happening. Not many actually realized that they were drawing within the space. The space that is the human spirit, in all its dimensions. And so within the body, we exist within the space. When we leave, we notice that really we were the space. The body was something we were acting through, something that suddenly appeared within our space. So through some type of a biological process that linked our perception to this specific body. And so the body appears within our space, and then we see it there while we are there, and eventually we say, I am this. Because ever since I've seen myself in this condition, I've seen myself inside of this. And that identification makes the spirit lose its space, lose its place, lose its connection to source, lose its remembering, its natural remembering of who it really is. That it exists in perception, it doesn't exist in the physical, it doesn't exist in matter. Matter can only be a vessel. Matter is not a world in which we, perception, can actually exist as matter. We exist within matter as perception, but we are not matter as matter. As long as perception is residing in matter, we are in the body. Perception separates from matter, and we're outside the body. We're outside the body, we're back to being this space. The place within which there once was a body. And so many different things happened while there was a body in this place, and yet now there's no body. And now when there's no body, we can look back and see that always there was nobody. Even when there was a body, there was nobody. Nobody meaning it wasn't really what it appeared to be. As long as we're here, we're talking, we're making noise, it looks like someone is here. But really, behind all the noise, there is a silence that we would call nobody. There's no one. There's life, there's aliveness. There's no personality. The entity that I am is different than the entity that I think I am. I think I am based on my manifestations. But what I am has nothing to do with the manifestations. I'm the potential of these manifestations as well as many others. The manifestations are based on an environment. They're not what I am. They're my reaction to the environment. There's something that is beyond manifestation. That being is nobody. It's no one. It has no identity in the way that we imagine. It's a being. It's a real being, unlike the one we identify as, which is fiction. The being that is real. but it's no one. It has no identity. It's human. It's a specific type of being. It's a specific type of species, and it's a unit of those species with very specific properties. And yet it has no identity. Identity is a concept. A concept that gets developed as a response to a threat. A threat that is posed by another human being. A child alone would never create for itself an identity in the sense that we use it. And so really, if we look at the space within which we operate, we realize that even now, while we're still in the body, we are the space. The body operates within our space. Our emotions operate within our space. Our intellect is arguing within our space. And yet, all those things are not who we are. They're happening through us and from us and within us. And yet we are beyond. We've always been beyond, but we can also identify. We're always within, and we're always surrounding. There's always a part of the spirit that is beyond everything that's happening, and there's always a part of the spirit that to some degree is involved in what's happening. There's a part of the Creator that is eternal and never changes, and there's a part of the Creator that is involved in every single thing that's happening. There's a part of your soul that can never be offended. And there's a part of your soul that has already been very deeply offended. So to become aware of this space is to become aware of the place within which even our thoughts are being formed. And that brings our perception closer to Source. Source is the original pure perception created by our organs when they are in perfect balance. Return to this unity so that all your manifestations can come forth from the space in a way that is healthy for the space and is healthy for what's in the space.